Yes, hello guys, how are you doing? My name is Robin Anamboze, also known as Robin Kisti. Ilanga right now today tuwadde wano ku Diaspora 101 workshop. Ino workshop ebadde yakuyamba abaana Uganda okufuna information gye beetaaga ekikwatagana ne ku traveling. Bagala naddala abasinga abagala okugenda okutravelinga ngaba students ngaba employees ngaba visitors basically workshop ebadde yakubawa information gye beetaaga kubanga Uganda bababye nnyo Uganda babadde so uninformed, so I came up with this idea to be able to share this information through my different travel experiences. Mbabulireko bye beetaaga ate n'okubeera nga abaagala okujoininga okujja mu kampani yange nga nabo mbayambako. So Diaspora 101 ebadde nnungi nnyo, abantu bazze era nga babadde happy okubeera nga bafuna information eno kubanga bangambye Robin information eno gy'otuwa ebadde teri muntu abadde atukolera ekintu nga kino. So I'm very glad that I was able to do this workshop, and I'll make sure that I do it 3 times in a year so I can be able to equip more Ugandans with the right information about how to travel abroad.
Okay. Ensanyi zino tulaba nnyo bannayuganda bettanira nnyo okuva mu Uganda. Nsonga ki olowooza etwala abantu okuva mu Uganda okugenda ebweru?
Abantu abasinga ekibajja e Uganda mirimu. Abantu abasinga bonna families balina abaana b'okusasulira school fees. Ennaku zino Uganda yafuuka expensive, ate bwefuuka expensive salaries zaffe zo tezeeyongerayo, ebintu ne webirinnya salaries zaffe tebazongeza. So kati buli muntu yenna agamba bannange njagala kuyiiya nve mu Uganda kubanga embeera yo ekalubye mu Uganda, kyobala nti n'abantu babasinga baagala kugenda.
Mu bantu b'osinza osomesa tulaba nnyo abavubuka be basinga okwettanira okugenda. Wakikoze otya okuba nti wasobodde okukuŋŋaanya abavubuka n'obaleeta leero mu workshop yo?
I think abavubuka just nti mboogereramu kwegamba engeri nange gye ndi omuvubuka myself ate nga nfunye experience ey'enjawulo mu kutambula. Bwe natandika okukola vidiyo zange nga njogera ku life y'ebweru ne Alan Cruz, vidiyo ezo zakwata ku baana bangi nnyo nga Robin, ebintu by'oyogera information eno teri muntu agifulumya information yena ate nga bonna basinga abavubuka nti abavubuka be baliko kati kubanga Uganda nga mumanyi the biggest population tuli bavubuka tuli between 18 years and 35 to 40, so the biggest majority tuli bavubuka ate ngera fa abayagala okumanya ki ekiddako tuli bajjagujagu nti tetwagala kutuula mu kifo kimu ate mbu tuyiye twagala okutambula okugenda n'ebigenda. Kyobala nti nno abavubuka bangi nnyo abeetanidde workshop eno kubanga bagezi bagenda n'ebigenda tebaagala kubeera nga abazadde baffe abagetinga comfortable ne ba ending up nga balinda abaana bazimbira amayumba. Ffe ng'abavubuka ab'ennaku zino abaliwo kati twagala okubeera nga ffe already ebintu byaffe tubikoze nga tetunnabakaddiwa. So kyobala nti nno abavubuka beetanidde nnyo okutambula, tebaagala kubeera nga bazadde baabwe abatuulawo ne balinda ne baretiringa nga talina wadde ka retirement package from their company ng'omwana ye alina omuzimbira ennyumba. No, ffe abaagala okukolerera abaana baffe ebintu byabwe tugende okufa nga abaana baffe balina bye batandikira tebeetaaga na kugenda bweru. I like to always try something new. I had a boyfriend at the time who was in Washington, in Chicago, Illinois. So what I did, I applied. After I finished my 2 years at the other school, I applied for a university that was in Chicago. I go to my man. So I applied for a school called Northern Illinois, which was a 4-year university. Then I started my degree in acting. So I did a BFA in fine arts with an emphasis in acting. So that's what I trained in. And then I studied my 4 years, but then me in my heart, my heart always wanted Uganda. I got depressed. Let me tell you, I got depressed. I don't know if any of you have been depressed or gotten depression, but ask me why I was depressed. I was depressed because, first of all, I was away from my family for so long. I had left my family in the UK. I'm now in America by myself. Baganda, Bango, my sisters, my brother, and my mom, they're all in the UK. I was the only one who decided to move to the US. So after I studied for a couple of years, I was okay. But because when you're on a student visa, you can't just leave the country unless your parent is really rich. Because if your parent's paying $8,000 a quarter, which is every 3 months,
There's no way they're going to get money to also give you money to come for vacation to Uganda. So I would be staying home. Even in the holidays, I would stay in America because I couldn't come back to Uganda or go to London to see my family. So I actually started suffering from mental health issues. People don't know, when that depression is a mental health issue. It's mental health. So because I didn't know, and us Ugandans were not groomed to know that we're depressed. You're depressed, I move on. There's no depression in Africa. What are you talking about, depression? But because I was in another country, I had to go and seek for help, because every morning I would wake up. I would wake up with maziga. I just wanted to cry. You know when you have that thing on your heart where you just want to cry? I would wake up every morning feeling like that, and I'm like, why? Why do I feel like this? It would even make it hard for me to be in my classes and concentrate, because I would just be thinking about my mom. I'd be thinking about my family in the UK, and I would see how unhappy and broke I was. Because as a student, it's the same everywhere. Students are broke everywhere. And in the US, when you get a student visa, you are only allowed to work in your school. As in, your visa only allows you to work in your school vicinity. The jobs are there within the schools, but you can only work within your school vicinity. You cannot work outside. So I was broke. I was missing my family. I was tired of winter. Very cold. So that's when I started getting depression. So I decided, because they have therapists in the US, I went to see a therapist, a school therapist. I started explaining to her what was wrong with me. I'm like, I'm feeling like this and this. I don't know. She's like, you're an international student and you're away from home. These things are bound to happen. You're bound to feel a certain way, because even if you don't feel it, that you miss your family, your heart feels it. So whenever you recognize something like that, talk to someone, because you never know, you can go mad and want to kill yourself. That's how mental health issues start. People started wanting to commit suicide. It has happened to a family member of mine. I will tell you that story too. So they had to cut my credits. As an international student, you're supposed to do 30 credits to qualify. You have to do I think they're 5 classes. But when they assessed me and assessed my mentor, they said that I could not do 30 credits. They cut me short to 20 credits. Because I was depressed. I was going through depression. I had to go see this lady twice a week so she can talk to me and make me feel better. But me, I did not feel better. Even after seeing a therapist, I did not feel better. I was like, you know what? I have a home. Why am I here and feeling stranded when I know there is Uganda where the sun shines all year round? I talked to my mom. My mom was always against me moving back to Uganda. Okay, now you're going to back to Uganda college. To do what? Because for some of us, if you're just taken as a young person, you don't really see the value of abroad. Me, my heart was always here in Uganda. I told her, you know what, I'm studying already acting. I can already, if I'm good enough to go and make it in Uganda. She's like, no, Robin, no. But my goal, my heart, and everything told me, go back to Uganda. Now I've forgotten about the Hollywood dream at that time, because depression was too much. I said, let me go back to Uganda. That's when I came back to Uganda, and I decided to join TV. That was around 2010, I think 2011. I came back to Uganda and that's when I joined NTV and started working on Login, NTV, those who watched me. And I was here for 4 years. I was on NTV for 4 years, but then family issues. I had my son, then I got pregnant with my daughter. Then my mother was like, Uganda. They were always against me being in Uganda. She's like, you're not having another child in Uganda. At least go back to America and have your child. So because I was a student, I had to apply for a visitor's visa now to go and join family. So now I'm showing you the different ways I've gone to America. First I went as a student, then I went again as a visitor. So here, this story is not for nothing, it's to show you my history in traveling. So you know that what I'm talking about, I know. I'm not taking from internet, I'm not taking it from out there. this is experience of things I've done. I've gone through it. I went back as a visitor, and at the time as a mom. Now not a student, but as a mom, because I went with my son. At the time my son was 1.5 and I was 6 months pregnant. I had to hide it because the American embassy, they can't see you going pregnant. They're like, hey, you want to come and have your babies here so you can have an American child? They don't want that. So I had to wear this cheap big shirt to cover my stomach so they don't see that I'm pregnant, so I can go have an American daughter. So I was successful, but again, when I was applying for my American visa, I didn't know that if you have a young child, they also need a separate application. So for some of you who might want to travel with kids, if at all you go to any embassy, for them they don't care if the child is 0, they don't care if it's 2, they don't care if it's 3 months, you have to pay for their visa. They are a person. They have their own passport, it has to have a visa in it. Me, I didn't know that because they asked me, are you traveling with someone? I said yes on the application. So I put my son's name, but I didn't do a separate application for him. I reached the embassy to go do my interview with my son. They're like, hey, where is your son's papers? I'm like, he's on my application. They're like, no. Your son also has to have his own visa application and his own visa fee. Can you imagine you've reached for your interview, which is hard to get on American embassy, but now you... So they told me, okay, come do your interview. My son, I had to go with him. Of course, I went and did my interview, but then I had to do now an application real quick because we were traveling on Wednesday. We were traveling on like in 3 days. We were traveling like on Friday. We get the visa on Tuesday because in American embassy, when you go on Monday. They will tell you come back on Wednesday for your visa. So now, Monday I've done the interview. We're supposed to travel by Friday. My son doesn't have his visa application. So I had to call. People don't know that you can actually call the American embassy or any embassy if you have a consulate in your country and do an expedite. There's what they call an expedite interview. So I paid for my son and they showed that it was paid, but they were giving me an interview date of 2 weeks later when we're traveling on Friday. So this is us, we're like, oh, do we know any Monene Gamba Nogu who is going to help us? Manya, they give us a new date. Thinking maybe we'll call my auntie, Betty Kamia, maybe. No, she's hard to find. Maybe we'll look out for another MP. You guys, you don't need an MP to call the embassy. You don't. I didn't know that. I was like, something is not right. I went to the American website, embassy. Again, everything online. I went to the American embassy. I got their numbers. I called and I explained my situation and they told me, okay, we can give you an expedite. Just make sure the payment has gone through, because once you pay for your visa, you receive an email or a message telling you you've paid, then that's where you book the appointment. So once they confirmed that I had paid, they scheduled me one for my son to go on Wednesday for his visa interview. So we went, and my son also got his visa. But for us, we're there thinking we have to ask someone. Ugandans, something is wrong with, we always want someone else to do something for us. No, you can do all this stuff yourself. If you read enough, some of us, we don't want to be bothered. Hey, so many words. What? Let me go even eat lunch, I will come back later. These words are too many. No, but if you sit there and you read them, you'll be able to understand. So I went back as a mother to America, and it was a big struggle. When I tell you it was a big struggle. I was alone. Baby father stayed in Uganda. Now I'm in America with 2 children. Well, I had my daughter eventually. Now in America with 2 children. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is being with a child in America. So for all of you who are thinking you have a child and you want to take abroad, first rethink. If you have a family member you can trust, maybe you can first leave your child here. You first go see the situation there. Then maybe you can process for your child to come, because it's extremely hard when you have a child and you have no partner. It was extremely hard for me to even work, make money. I see some people on social media. Oh, that one, she failed in America. Now she's here telling people about America because she wants to make money. I see this on social media. I did not fail. It was not for me. It can be for you, or it can be not for you. Not everyone in Uganda is struggling. Not everyone in Uganda wants to go. Like I told you before my story, my heart was always calling me back to where? To Uganda, because maybe that's where here is my calling. And the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you guys, it shows me more that yes, it is my calling to be here and help people who need this information. So when I was there and it was really difficult, I decided, I was like, you know what, this is not for me. First of all, I had tested the celebrity life here. I was making my money. I was getting gigs left and right, ambassador for here and there. Logan had kicked off, I'm a big celebrity, but I didn't know. I actually got to know how big I was after I left and went back. So I realized Uganda is where I need to belong. So I told my mom again. I think that was 4 or 5 years later after I had moved back with my kids. Working was difficult because juggling the kids and work became hard because the money that you spend on child care is the money you make in a day. So if you go to child care, even if it's a Ugandan person who is taking care of kids, not these American daycares, even if it's just a Ugandan person doing their kache or in their house, it is $25, right? Right now it might be even more. $25 per child. I had to. That's $50 per child for one day. How many hours have I worked? 8 hours. And it's $89 the day. If I'm getting paid between $12 to $15. In a day, I'll probably make like $89 to $95. Now, if you've spent the $50 on daycare, you've made nothing pretty much. So, the paperwork and the math was not adding up. My mom would be like, you know what, Robin, just sit. I'll help you with rent, because my mom was in the UK. I'll help you with rent. She helped me for a while. Unfortunately, she passed on in 2019 on Christmas Day. But I had already talked to her and I told her, Mommy, America has stressed me. I don't think it's for me. My kids are not happy. I am not happy. I want to go back home. She said, you know, Robin, you know, one thing I realized that if you tell me something, you've already made your decision, your mind up. So if your kids are not happy, okay, you can't go back home to Uganda. Unfortunately, 5 to 10 days later, my mom passed on. Again, that was more of a sign that, okay, even your mom was helping you has died. She told America, what are you doing in America? I said, you know what? Of course, we came back to bury my mom. And that was it. I never looked back, and I promise you, even if you were to pay me $1 million to go to America, personally, I would not go back to live or anything. But I'm not discouraging anyone from going, which was, I decided, I was like, first our Chibo was with Alan Cruz, was mainly about alerting you guys the life out there. Just to alert you that it's not all roses. It's not all glitz and glamour, lights and, you know, New York dreams. That's not what it is. And it took me to go there to learn the hard way. Even the Hollywood that I wanted to go to when I moved to Los Angeles, where LA, Hollywood is, it made me hate America even more. Because it's not what I expected. First of all, it was so expensive. Everything was, you find people on the street like zombies. The drug rate in America, drugs in America, if you're not careful, you can also get addicted to drugs. People on the street like, you know, depending on neighborhood. So there was so much depression and all that, and I was just like, you know what? This is not me. So that's when I made the decision to come back here to Uganda. And I've been helping people who have been just asking me, and I had never done it on a big level like this where I do a workshop. But then I realized I'd gotten so many questions when I started talking about it with Alan Cruz. So many questions arose. And I was like, I can't just really be replying to everyone one by one. I reply. So that's where the idea of the Diaspora 101 workshop was birthed. So I can be able to give some knowledge that I have for people who want to start this process of traveling. It's not an easy process. You have to be very, very patient, guys. Kubanga, wochibamira. That's how you lose your money. This thing is about taking your time, doing the right research on the country you're going to, on how you're going. A lot of Ugandans call me, how much money am I going to need? Guys, there's no answer to that question. You know why? Every embassy has a different visa fees. Every visa, let's say for example, student visa, different fees. Visitors visa, different fees. Immigration visa, different fees. So how can someone tell you, give me 20 million or 15 million when they have not broken down on where that money is going? Stop asking that question. That's the number one thing I'm going to tell you. Stop asking that question to anyone. At least first do your research. That way, you kind of have a clue. At least the first thing is application. The application is the first thing, you know. Application fee is how much? If you're getting an invitation later, are you going in a conference? Are you going as a student? What is the student fee for the application for the student fee? I have a presentation, we're going to go through all of that. My passport. Thank you. So